Once again, thank you very much for joining us today. Now, the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament has summoned officials of the Bank of Ghana to appear before it today as it begins public hearings into the 2015 Auditor General's report. The committee will be interrogating reports covering the Bank of Ghana's foreign exchange receipts and payments for the year 2015. It will be delving into alleged financial improprieties as captured by the Auditor General in the report. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our correspondent. He joins us live now. Joseph, what can you tell us? What will be happening today? What should we expect?
Well, and so officials of the Bank of Ghana will be appearing before the Public Accounts Committee chaired by James Cleveland, who is the Deputy Minority Leader and also the Member of Parliament for the Cussons South constituency. The indication is that when the committee wrote to the Bank of Ghana inviting them to appear before them for this particular session, they got a reply that the governor himself is not in the country at the moment. He's with the finance minister in Washington, D.C., where they are attending an investment forum, and so will not be able to participate in this particular meeting. But the indication is that some of his deputies will be around and other senior officials will be around. In fact, the committee is interrogating two different reports, which is a report on receipts and payments when it comes to foreign currency that the Bank of Ghana has made for the year 2015. In fact, the Auditor General has actually prepared two different reports on this. The first report covers the first half of 2015 from January to June, and the second report covers the second half of the year from July up until December. And so those are the two reports that the officials of the Bank of Ghana will be responding to some questions on from the Public Accounts Committee, and that session is expected to begin sometime soon, any moment from now.
And Joe, one of the things that we understand will be looked at, you are aware that in 2015, the city suffered one of its most worst experience in terms of its rates with other currencies. How does that fall into any of the categories?
Well, the indication we're getting is that that is most likely going to be an issue that will come up, particularly when the interrogation that the officials of the Bank of Ghana are supposed to respond to have to do with payments that were made when it comes to foreign currencies like the dollar, foreign currencies like the euro, foreign currencies like the pound. And so the expectation is that this is something that will definitely come up. You would know that when it comes to the committee itself, the minority members have previously raised a number of concerns about how the Bank of Ghana had actually, handled this issue. And so it is very likely that this will come up, although that is not likely to be the specific focus, because the interrogations will specifically have to do with alleged issues of financial improprieties that may have come up, which the Auditor General has found out, which is what the officials of the Bank of Ghana would actually be responding to.
And finally, Joe, one of the rumors, some of the rumors that came up before the resignation of the former Bank of Ghana governor was that of how the dollar was being sold to some banks with the highest bidder. Is this part of the impropriety that, the committee will be looking into?
For now, we've not gotten the full details as to the specific concerns that the Auditor General, raised in this particular report, which the Bank of Ghana officials would actually be of Agriculture will be appearing before this particular committee. And when officials of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture appear, the case we're getting is that there have been concerns about how they've gone about disposing some state vehicles in the past, back in the year 2015. And that's what officials of the Ministry of Agriculture will be responding to questions on. On Thursday, it's expected that officials of the Food and Drugs Authority will also be appearing, and then they'll be responding to questions having to do with issues about imports, having to do with pharmaceutical drugs and how that has been handled. And then the final bit will be on Friday, which will be the Ghana Health Service, and officials of that particular institution will also be appearing. And so that will mark the end of the very first meeting of the Public Accounts Committee publicly for the 7th Parliament when it comes to the first session of the 7th Parliament. So we're looking forward to all of that in this week as well.
Thank you very much. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo bringing us details of the Public Accounts Committee sitting or meeting some officials of the Bank of Ghana. And we'll certainly bring you details as and when we get them. Moving on, public and corporate support continues to come in for the Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital following Joy News' special documentary which highlighted challenges at the mother and baby unit. The latest of such gestures came from PZ Cussons with a donation of 110 boxes of sanitary products.
Part of the plight of mothers and babies identified in Sef Kwame Boateng's documentary Next to Die is the spread of skin diseases. PZ Cussons believes the consignment can at least reduce the incidence of infection. Head of Brand Development Hafsa Arthur encouraged mothers to teach their children basic rules of hygiene to prevent the spread. She says several cases which end up in the hospital could easily be avoided if people observe such rules.
And it's important that we as mothers, we as parents begin to teach our children certain basic hygiene rules at this level. So once they pick it up, then it becomes a part of life and they can grow with it. A couple of weeks back, we had a story, Joy FM put out a story on the deteriorating states of the medical, the baby and mother and baby units here in Komfo-Anokye Teaching Hospital, that there was congestion in the place, and as a result of the congestion, mothers were getting sicker and the baby's care and recovery was clearly slowed down due to lack of water and proper sanitization products. Now, PZ Cussons Ghana Limited is the manufacturer and main marketer of Carex as well as Camel, which are the leading antiseptic brands that we have in the market. So having this story out there, it was very easy and very natural for us to take the challenge and say, why not? Let's go in there. Let's give what we have to the hospital to help reduce the burden that they currently face, mainly to help also to reduce the communicable diseases that are prevalent in a space where there is congestion, especially in a hospital in a unit so sensitive as the mother and baby units. And that's
some beneficiaries of the donated items are excited the gesture will guarantee them some protection.
PZ Cussons, so very much for giving us this product, for thinking about us in the first place, we the mothers, and then thinking about our babies as well. And bring.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
Let's stay in the Ashanti region, and illegal miners in the Amansia West district say they will return to Galamsey site if government does not provide them with alternative livelihoods. This was revealed during a public forum of illegal miners, chiefs and other stakeholders at Manso Nkwanta. Love FM's Erastus Asaridonko was part of that forum and joins us live on the line. Hello, Erastus. They are threatening to return. Have they returned yet? Do you know?
Well, they haven't, based on what the MP for the area, Albert Kwam, told them, that they should wait and do not take the law into their own hands. They should send an appeal rather to government to expedite action on what the plans are for them. So they've not gone back yet, but from my talk with them, it doesn't look like they will stay this way forever. They say they are waiting for some few days. If you do not get any favorable response, they will pack their tools back to the bush and start mining.
And indeed, you were there with the team yesterday. What did you observe?
In fact, these are angry miners, many of them without licenses. There were a few of them who were able to show us licenses they've acquired. And some of them told us that they spent close to $120,000 before they could get the mining license. The ones they showed us will expire in 2018. And they cannot understand why, after going through all that hassle, gotten the concession, and they are working according to the mining protocols, they will also be asked, along with the illegal miners, to stop work. And that is their major problem. We went into the bushes to areas where the illegal miners claim they have reclaimed the land. And it is just one of the concessions that have been reclaimed. Even that, there were serious lapses in there. You find children of about 10 up to 15 in there also washing the F to try to get some gold. And so it doesn't look like they're going to stop anytime soon, despite the measures put in by government.
Quite a worrying situation on the scene there. But apart from, you just said that the MP has spoken to them, asking them to wait just a little bit longer whilst government tries to sort the issue out. But we also know that he made some comment on how to deal with the situation. But what is the long-term plan? What long-term plan is he considering?
Well, the MP himself tells us he has a master's degree in mining and land reclamation. And so if he's impressed upon by government to write a proposal on how to reclaim lands affected by mining, he will be able to present a formidable blueprint on how to reclaim the land. He even suggested that going into the future, some of these pits, if they test for the chemical levels and it meets the requirement by WHO standards, he thinks that many of these pits can be turned into fishing ponds, fish ponds, for example, to benefit the community. And he says he can reclaim the land and use it to grow cassava and other things. But going into the long term, he wants government to, yes, ban outright illegal mining, but then resume the large-scale concessions given out to other people and reduce the land, demarcate it to the youth who want to go into mining and are already doing illegal mining, so that they can be regulated to do responsible mining, which will improve the local economy.
Thank you very much, Love FM's Erastus Osaredonko, and we've been talking about some illegal miners in Amansio West who are just waiting for a few days to return to their sites if government does not provide them with any alternative source of employment. And we'll try and speak to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister quite shortly. But whilst we wait to do that, we know that the Forestry Commission says that interference of chiefs is drawing back the fight against the menace that's illegal mining. Government has intensified a clampdown on illegal mining operators. Regional Assistant Manager Isaac Noble Eshan says interference from chiefs and opinion leaders must be addressed. Speaking with Love FM's David Akute, Mr. Isaac Noble Eshan said despite the intrusion, the Commission is making progress in dealing with the culprits.
It's about 2 days ago, we received a report from one of our officers that they had a delegation of chiefs and some opinion leaders from a certain community coming to him because they've heard that they are prepared to come and raid individuals who are carrying out illegal activity or illegal mining in their area, But the officer stood his grounds and then went and carried out the operation, and he was able to arrest some people, and they are in court right now. If opinion leaders, if elders in society would not interrupt our activities, they will not come and intervene when we are dealing with these people, I believe we can.
Mr. Shan also praised the Chief Justice for establishing 40 more courts to deal with the problem.
Going to the ordinary courts or other courts where all manner of cases are held, causing delays in some of our mining cases, It kind of discourages us because by the time that the case would be called, the officer who is in charge might be engaged with something somewhere. So if there are courts dedicated for carrying out or trying illegal mining issues, I believe it would readily facilitate our efforts in trying to deal with this menace. If even for a period, I believe it would help because the little assistance that we've got from some courts, it's made a lot of impact.
You're still watching News Desk on Joy News. Stay with us. When we come back, we'll bring you some stories on today being Malaria Day. You're still watching News Desk on Joy News. Now, we're learning that some nurses, unemployed nurses, are picketing the Ministry of Health. Matilda Uwemega is there and joins us on the phone. Matilda, what can you tell us about what's happening there?
So Beatrice, as it stands now, these nurses have vowed not to return to their homes. Many of them are coming across the country, some from the northern region, some from the Ashanti and Volta regions, and they are saying that they are not going to move from the health ministry until they get their appointment letters. And these nurses are nurses who have been out of school since 2015. They completed their service somewhere in August 2016, and they have been home for 9 months. So they are saying that until they get something concrete from the health ministry, they are not going to move from the place.
How many are they?
So these nurses in all nationwide, they are 937 nurses, we are talking about, and none of them have been given their financial clearance.
Is it the same number that is currently picketing the Ministry of Health?
No, not the same number. It's just a handful of them, close to about 100 of them, who came in yesterday in the morning, and they slept at the forecourt of the health ministry. I'm told last night around 11 p.m., the Director General, Dr. Peter Zakaria, engaged them, spoke to them that these issues are going to be addressed. But for them, they want something formal. They want something proper to be done, because for them, they've had this lip service that's been paid to them for so many months now. But now they want something concrete from the health ministry.
But you've been with them since early morning. Does it look like any government official at all, or the official from the ministry is meeting them to, give them what they want?
No, as at 8 o'clock that we've been with them till now, there's been no official from the health ministry or even the finance ministry. No one has engaged them. But what they say is that last night, through their interaction with the director of health ministry, she assured that they were going to have a meeting with their leaders. But that is yet to be seen. So as we speak now, no one has engaged them to let them know the way forward. That is why they insist they are going to be here. And this picketing they're doing is for today. It ends tomorrow. In fact, if by tomorrow they don't hear anything from the ministry or the health minister, they're going to move to the Flagstaff House, where they will present a petition to the president.
Thank you very much, Matilda Wemega. Still on health, as Ghana joins the world to mark World Malaria Day today, some advocacy groups in the country are ensuring strides gained in reducing the prevalence rate is maintained and further reduced. Ghana currently has a prevalence rate of 4.4%, an achievement touted by stakeholders in the health sector as a major improvement in eradicating the disease. One group at the forefront of this advocacy is Hope for Future Generation. Its program manager Gladys Tete Yeboah tells Joy News focus on behavioral change, input from MMDEs and increase in domestic funding are their targets for now. The theme for this year's celebration is a push for prevention, with a local theme and malaria for good.
Our main aim is that we want to increase local domestic funding for malaria. We also want to get the local governments, we are looking at stakeholders involved in increasing resources for malaria, because we realize that malaria is something that involves all of us.
But what has accounted for the urge to increase local funding for eradication of malaria?
Yeah, we realize that there's a lot of work being done on malaria, but we realize that most of the malaria programs have been donor funded. And so when the donors, after some time, they are not able to support as before, then Ghana, we are in trouble. So we need to get our local stakeholders to support malaria program.
How exactly will you be doing that?
So what we are doing as a project on the district level, we have formed what we call the district malaria advocacy groups, which involves stakeholders such as the district assembly, the health department, social welfare, education, even the traditional leaders, the religious leaders. They all come together and we form an advocacy group. Now, this advocacy group spearheads malaria intervention. For instance, recently in one of our districts in the Volta region, we had Zoom Lion taking over the cost of going around to spray communities. They saw it as their social responsibility. We also have some banks saying that, okay, as part of our corporate responsibility, this is what we want to do. We want to support whatever activity you do. The district assemblies, they are supporting meetings where there are going to be meetings by the malaria advocacy groups. They said, okay, who will take care of the meetings?
These are things that hitherto or prior to would have been done by the donor agencies, right? Would have been sponsored by the donor agencies. Okay, so how far have you come with it advocacy?
Yeah, we have come far. Now, one major advocacy thing that we are doing, which is working, is to advocate for the district common fund for malaria. And most of the districts have committed that as long as the district exists, they are going to commit their malaria fund. They are going to ensure that whatever amount of the money that is due to malaria, they will commit themselves into it.
The government is planning to transform state-owned media houses into financially independent and self-sustained institutions. Minister for Information Mustafa Hamid says the NPP's philosophy of the state not taking charge of the media informed the administration's decision to rather build the capacity of the state-owned media houses that would operate without interference from government. He made this known at a press briefing in the Volta Regional Capital Hall after a two-day executive retreat for key agencies under the Information Ministry.
According to the minister, output of the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation GBC does not match with the amount of finances injected into the state broadcaster by government. He reiterated that the introduction of an innovative way of collecting TV licenses would help the state broadcaster be more financially independent.
Our goal ultimately is to build the capacities of these so-called state-owned media to be completely financially independent and self-sustaining, so that government is not even putting money in GBC, for example. Right now, government is putting a lot of money in GBC. And even so, as you said, we are not getting the right kind of output. Okay, but if we build GBC to a point where we can divest it completely of state intervention, then it will be truly independent, not just to serve the citizens of Ghana, but to hold governments truly accountable.
He disclosed that the Information Ministry has resolved to reconsider the mandate of the Ghana News Agency to ensure it conforms with the new trend of media around the world. He added that the State of the Nation address and key highlights of the 2017 budget would be translated into Ghanaian languages and made available to the citizenry within the shortest possible time. Mr. Hamid also assured that his ministry would ensure the Right to Information Bill is passed before the end of 2017.
What it is that the Right to Information Bill was in Parliament last year. Unfortunately, it wasn't passed before the end of the year, and then the mandate of the last Parliament lapsed. Now, the rule, therefore, is that because this is a completely new Parliament, you have to relay the bill. And therefore, we took it out. The Attorney General, the Attorney General's Department, I must say, is looking at it again with a view to giving it fresh impetus. And then it will go back to this cabinet. Of course, the cabinet that approved it for that Parliament is not also this cabinet. So this cabinet would also look at it again and then pass it on to our Parliament.
The Information Minister was accompanied by his three deputies, Kojo Opon Nkrumah, Ama Dokwa Isiama Ejei, and Perry Okujeto. Fred Kwame Asari's report for Joy News.
Now, the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission is blaming vigilante groups in political parties and other acts of violence on absence of a national youth policy direction. Ashanti Regional President Hakeem Baidu warns the future looks bleak for Ghana until steps are taken to secure their future. The Akufo-Addo administration suffered a setback recently when members of the NPP vigilante group Delta Force stormed a Kumasi Circuit Court and freed members facing trial. Hakeem Baidu was speaking at the 35th Ahmadiyya Male Youth Conference at Nkaria in the Achuma Mwebiaja district.
Mr. Bedu says the recent attack on a court by pro-NPP Delta Force exposes the country's failure in youth training and deployment. He called on the government to equip the youth with employable skills to make them beneficial to society. Mr. Bedu cites a special training for Ahmadis as a great example of how youth policy can be fashioned. On the fight against illegal mining or galamsey, he urges government to be relentless irrespective of fears of worsened unemployment.
Recently, I think we had a lot of all these things going on. But the government should have a policy for the youth. Because if the youth are not given direction, then where are you going? If the youth should pick any character and it bounce back, then it's going to be disastrous for the nation. The youth, their age, we call it golden age, because they have the strength, they have the mind to study, and they are so fresh in everything that when you are giving them the right training, that will ensure the nation's development.
The National Youth President, Nazir Ahmed Bunsu, entreated the youth to embrace prayer as greatest means for individual and national self-discipline.
Nothing can be achieved if someone fails to engage himself in prayers. In Islam, prayer is very key, and it has been mandatory upon every Muslim to engage in the 5 daily prayers. It forms the basis of Islam. It is one of the pillars of Islam. So I would say for someone to be very successful in all fields of work or in all walks of life, he cannot do away with prayer. That is why we see prayer as very important.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.